Yeah, just.
It's at 6:29 for about 11 minutes.
We have this meeting at work that's like, it's one that it starts, like, you have to be there on time for it, it's tracked, you're not, and it starts at 9:01, and it is, we call it the longest minute. Like, when you're on there on time, it is like the longest minute.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. If you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Our first order of business after the Pledge of Allegiance is public input. Do we have any public input this evening? No, I don't believe so. So we will move to item number 4. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
There are not.
Thank you. Mayor's report. I would, number 1, just make draw your attention to the meetings that are coming up for the month of June, and so that you'll have that those details in front of you. And also, of course, on Saturday is Midsummer's Day, so hope that you will all participate as you can. And our city administrator, being that she's efficient as she is, asked me if I had my costume, and I went and checked, and it looks like I've found about half of it so far, so I don't know how that's going to go. But anyway, we'll look forward to having a good weekend, so hope you can participate in that. Number 6, the consent agenda. We have 3 items. These items are routine and enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless our council member so requests. They will consist of item A, the approval of minutes from our regular meeting, May 16th. B, payroll ordinance 5362 and 5363. And C, purchase order ordinance 5364.
Motion to approve all 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, we'll ask the city clerk to please call a roll call vote.
Councilmember Scallon,
Abstain.
Vanderwait,
Yes.
Peterson,
Abstain.
Martin,
Yes.
Keeble,
Yes.
Corwin.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion passes. Next, move to item number 7. Madam Administrator, do we have any appointments this evening?
We do not.
No appointments. Do we have a planning and zoning? We do. And so item number 8, planning and zoning. Jordan, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So Planning and Zoning was scheduled to meet last month, but they did not because they didn't obtain a quorum. So the next meeting will be Tuesday, June 28th at 6 p.m. here in the Council Chambers at City Hall. Also importantly, there are going to be 2 vacancies on Planning and Zoning Commission. So right now I'm putting together a list of potential candidates. If there is anybody who's interested in Planning and Zoning Commission, it's a really important and exciting commission that deals with important city issues. So express your interest to one of your council members or to me directly or to the mayor.
Thank you, Jordan. Any questions for Jordan? Seeing none. Thank you, Jordan. Item number 9, old business. Do we have any old business?
We do not.
No old business, thank you. And we will turn our attention to item number 10, new business, and item A, space needs analysis at the Public Safety Center. And I will call on our assistant administrator and the chief as well, however you guys want to do that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for this opportunity to present to you. During the CIP process internally for staff, that's a 2 to 3 day, full day experience for the city administrator, for myself, and for the finance director, and then the department heads all have a piece of that. And it is not just what do you want, but sort of exploring needs to make sure that we're not not just being reactive, but that we're coming up with a plan to really move things forward over the coming years. So as we were working with the police in that conversation, it became really clear that our facilities don't support them in the work that they're doing. And as it's in the report, it's in our strategic plan, it's in our comprehensive plan. We want to be a safe and healthy community. Part of that is having staff who are able to execute on that vision, and they need to be supported in that. There's three there's one really particular thing, and that is that the stairwell on the EMS building has been a problem from the beginning, and that's 7 years old now, I think, a little older maybe. It collects leaves at the bottom of the stairwell, and then the drain doesn't function, and suddenly you have stormwater in the basement, and it's really a design problem. So we would like to see that corrected with a good plan, and that would actually correct that. There is a number of things within the public safety building, the police department, that don't allow the police to work the most effectively, whether that's how the evidence room is configured, how the interview space is configured, that police don't really have their own lockers to prepare for their jobs, and among other things, and some security things that are concerning to Chief Davis, but also certainly to me, to Christy. Finally, as you drive past the public safety building, it isn't really in keeping with the standards of the community. And so the discussion became, well, if we were going to ask an architect to look at reconfiguring the interior, would we ask them to give us some thoughts about what the exterior could look like and what a budget for that might be? So we put together an RFP. We sent it specifically to 4 firms. JGR and Salina, they're doing the job different. Hutton, PLI. PLI did the KMU building in McPherson, if you're familiar with that. And then Alloy, that had done some of the work on the rec center that we've looked at. The only interested firm in the work was Hutton. I think the reason there was a lack of interest is it's, we've put it, you've already seen it in the CIP. We sort of, our thumb in the air is it's $150,000 worth of work. It might be more, but it's not a multi-million-dollar project, which means that the architect fees are going to be pretty minimal on it. So there wasn't a lot of interest. Hutton did submit a bid or a proposal in the amount of $7,500 to do the work that we've asked them to do. Chris and his crew and I worked together with Hutton on the Consolidated Public Works Facility plans. It was a great process in terms of eliciting from the employees what are their needs and how could we meet those. They do interesting design work, very responsive, and so the recommendation is to accept the recommendation from staff would be to motion to accept the proposal from Hutton to complete a space needs analysis as outlined for the Public Safety Center in the amount of $7,500. I stand for questions.
Thank you. Chief, did you have additional presentation, or are you just here for
No, I was
questions?
just here to answer any questions you might have.
Questions, council?
Just one quick one. If we were ever successful at consolidating our public works out east, if we were able to do that, would there ever be consideration of relocating all this to the same property, or is the safety center going to be long-term plans to be where it is?
In the work that has been done on a consolidated public works facility, there was never any discussion of moving public safety, and there is not, the way that it was laid out, and the land that was contemplated was not sufficient for that.
Further questions?
I guess, what is it that Hutton's going to do then? I mean, they're gonna provide a study or a design or?
I think, so study, laying out a plan for consideration of the interior, a plan for consideration for the stairwell, and then some sketches of what the facade could look like, some budgetary guidelines, you know, what could this cost, and how, if the cost exceeds what we would want to do in a year, how could it best be phased?
I think importantly as well, they would spend time with the staff at the Public Safety Center, much the way they did with Public Works, to determine what the needs are for them to work more efficiently and effectively with more safety parameters, perhaps, than they have even now. So I think that that's very important for them to spend time with those employees and understand what the needs are.
I would agree, okay.
Councilmember Peterson?
And then the result of that, would it be then we would consider a proposal like are they, I would assume this would be kind of a design build type project, or? would-
It could be. I think it depends on how the phasing comes back and what the
but
budget numbers.
That'll be determined later,
Yeah.
I guess. Okay.
I mean, if it's all, I'll throw a number out there, if it's all $100,000 project, I think staff's recommendation would be, let's figure out how to get this done. If it's a much larger project, we would be, I would anticipate that staff's recommendation would be to phase it over several years.
Lucas, and I appreciate Hutton actually submitting a proposal. Do we still have a presence in McPherson? On the old-
They do have, I believe they have a presence in McPherson. I know they have a presence in Salina.
Okay, gotcha.
Although I think I believe their design work is done out of their Wichita office, but I may be wrong. Is there some done out of Salina and McPherson?
Okay, further questions? Seeing no further questions, thank you. Thanks both of you.
Thank you.
Council, would entertain a motion, if that is your desire, to accept the proposal from Hutton to complete a space needs analysis as outlined for the Public Safety Center in the amount of $7,500.
You think a motion to accept?
No, second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, we'll have our city clerk call a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Martin,
Yes.
Hebel,
Yes.
Corwin.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Vanderway.
Yes.
Galvin.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion passes. And we will now turn our attention to item B under new business, ward redistricting, ordinance number 5365. And we'll call on Jordan once again.
All right, good evening. Okay, so the current City of Lindsborg ward map doesn't include Stockholm Estates. Since until this year, there were no residents living in the new development. However, for voting purposes, McPherson County currently includes Stockholm Estates in Ward 1 in the map on file with the county clerk. So it appears that the city may have informed the county of Stockholm Estates proper ward, but has yet acted at the city level. So according to our city code, it says the boundary of each ward shall be as determined by the governing body and indicated on the official city ward boundary map, which shall be maintained by the city clerk. An amendment to ordinance number 4770 passed in 2012 would include Stockholm Estates in the proper ward, Ward 1, and bring the city and county ward maps into sync. This is kind of important. This is a time-sensitive issue and must be amended by July 12th of 2022 to ensure that the residents of Stockholm Estates have the right to vote in local elections. And the recommendation is a motion to adopt ordinance number 5365, amending the previous resolution for ward districting so that residents of Stockholm Estates are included in Ward 1 for voting purposes.
Thank you, Councilmember Peterson.
We did just have the census And have we evaluated our population distribution in Lindsborg to see if these wards still make sense? I think we tried, it happened, what, 10 years ago, I guess. And I know that they did adjust them slightly to try to keep a balance in the 4 wards, and I just wondered if we're still
So
there.
regarding the census data, not all of the census data has been published yet. So that granular, even down to tracks, I don't believe is out yet.
Is that something we plan to do or should do? I'm not saying we don't vote on this, but down the road, would we?
I think generally because the way that the ordinance is written around ward boundaries and distribution is that it says the wards should be relatively even in terms of population distribution. So even without the new census data, I think in the future what's going to happen is Stockholm Estates is going to fill up, which might kind of tip the balance a little bit. So we're going to have to look at this later. I think this is more of a solution so that with the few people who do live there right now.
Yeah,
they
I
can-
understand that. I'm just thinking long term.
I had the same question. I can, in the short term, obviously it's not gonna make a big impact on numbers, but once it fills up, it certainly would
Yeah.
put things out of whack.
The map itself says 5366, and what's in the document here says 5365. Is that?
That's a
That's a good catch.
That's
It should be 5365.
It
Okay.
should be 5365, and that's my mistake. So a motion to adopt with the map, with an amendment to that to say 5365 would be the motion.
So we have to change the motion, or?
We don't have a motion. We have a
Oh,
motion.
okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think that the 5366 ordinance was the one that included the cemetery. Just kidding.
And those people are not voting.
Yeah. We're aware.
Okay, further questions? Seeing no questions, thank you, Jordan. Okay, council, we will now entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 5365, amending the previous resolution for ward redistricting, or districting, so that residents of Stockholm Estates are included in Ward 1 for voting purposes. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second, discussion on the motion. Seeing no discussion, have the city clerk call a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Corley?
Yep.
Hebel?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes?
Vanderwood?
Yes.
Galvin?
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion passes. We'll now turn our attention to item C under new business, North Kansas Street repaving project. And we'll call on Chris. Hi, Chris.
Evening, Mayor, City Council. This year's repave project, we're working on the North Kansas Street, specifically the 6 and 700 blocks. We had looked at the 2 blocks south of there, but conditions of those streets are fairly decent yet. We're going to try and fit them into a separate plan of maintenance. The 600 block definitely needs to be repaved where it's all in front of the ball field. It gets a tremendous amount of traffic, bus traffic, all kinds of traffic. And then of course the 700 block receives a lot of traffic from West Garfield, at all of North Kansas does. That has become a very major traffic way through there from Westview. It's amazing how much traffic it gets. Chief Davis and I did set up the traffic counter and came up with some numbers. This was done back in March, so there was no ball field traffic, no extra college traffic at that time. And we had about 500 cars a day through there at that point. So you can imagine during football games, height of baseball, all that, it's very busy through there. So ideally that street should be widened, curb and gutter and all that, but it is an unimproved street, and that is not something that would happen at this point. However, due to that volume of traffic, something has to happen. It's really falling apart, and it's going to be a problem. Kind of one of the nice features of the traffic counter, it does record speeds, high speeds, low speeds, average speeds, and we actually had a car went through there at 62 miles an hour. So that's not an area that you want to see those kind of speeds at all. So
You're talking Kansas?
yes.
Sorry, Kansas.
Yes, North Kansas. So we are looking for a motion to approve repaving the 600 and 700 blocks of North Kansas by Pearson Construction for a not to exceed price of $135,000. That not to exceed price is trying to factor in some variables. Inevitably, there will be unknowns that they come across. And we just want to be prepared for some of those unknowns. Hopefully they don't find anything, but I found out last year with the North Main repave that those situations do happen. And I'd rather put some contingency in there than come to you afterward and ask for more money. So.
Other questions for Chris?
So just to confirm, the 600 blocks for the one by the stadium?
By the stadium,
And
correct?
700 block is the one that extends to Garfield.
Correct.
Okay, further questions?
I have just a comment if I could, just a thought. I know they're gonna be starting work on 135 or in the process of, and I don't know how many sections of that have been let, but the contractors that would be doing that work may or may not be our regular contractors, but if they're in the area, that might be another opportunity for us for quotes, just as we go down the road. I don't know how many years they're gonna be working on it out there, but
Right.
just a thought.
It is very challenging right now with contractors and trying to get communications, trying to get bids, trying to get even somebody to talk to. APAC, which normally are the ones we deal with, would not even commit to this project until 2023. And it's not going to last. It needs to be done sooner. That will be, as I kind of highlighted in the agenda, one of the concerns is Pearson cannot commit to the August 15th deadline. They're going to try, but he said, I'll be honest with you, it's more than likely we won't, but they are very confident that they could get it done the early part of September, which with some communications with the college, school districts, trying to work with, their schedules and ball games. It's a small enough project, I think they can get in and get part of it done in front of the 600 block in a week, and shouldn't be any issues. But that will be some logistics that are going to be involved in that, just because of the time frames. So.
Do you know, is that because of just backlog
It's just-
issues with all the
It's
contractors?
just backlog. Some of them are facing personnel problems, keeping people and keeping crews going. Some of it's just materials and availability of materials, and then there again the variable of cost of oils and all that involved in this project is another part of the contingency. So it's a very volatile environment right now, as it is with many things, but they will do their best.
Further questions? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, council, it is your desire, we entertain a motion to approve the repaving of the 600 and 700 blocks of North Kansas by Pearson Construction for a not to exceed price of $135,000. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions on the motion? Seeing no questions, our city clerk, do a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Martin,
Sid Martin?
Oh, Yes. sorry.
Yes.
Hebel,
Yes.
Corwin,
Yes.
Gallant,
Yes.
Vanderway,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Thank you, Counselor.
First twice.
Motion passes. Motion passes. Thank you.
We appreciate your leadership.
Okay, item 11, executive session. I don't believe we have a need for our executive session. And item 12, is there other business that needs to come before the council this evening?
I'm sorry, I actually have
Sure.
a question. Do we have, I was looking for a schedule of study sessions, and it's probably there, and I just can't see it, but do we have an upcoming study session to kind of review some of, like the some of the bigger constructions, capital, the wellness center, some of those bigger project items, is that on the agenda?
We do August 1st, we are planning to do the overpass interchange topic. We recently did Consolidated Public Works and Rec Center, a couple months ago we did that.
Okay.
So, and then CIP was the last two,
Mhm.
so that's kind of where we're at
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
But if you have any topics of interest, you're, welcome to send those to the mayor and myself,
Okay.
and we can plan towards those.
Yeah, I'll refresh myself on the previous
Absolutely.
Consolidated Public Works.
Yes, and if you need any of the materials, just let me know.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for asking that. We want our study sessions to be productive, and they are, but I want to make sure we're covering the things that we need to and recovering, because that's the point of it. It's trying to make sure that we have adequate information to make good decisions and in an open environment, so.
Well, it's just sometimes it feels like, and I know lots goes on in the background, but, just a little bit of notice on, how are things moving forward? Is it just sitting there since our last study session? Sometimes we don't.
So kind of an overview.
Yeah, just like, any progress happening on this, what, and I'm guilty, I haven't read the last couple of Friday reports either, so you could very well have them in there.
I do have a question, and kind of to that same point, I know, and I did read in the Friday report that we're still gaining easement on the dredging, and I know we've talked about that before, and as the rain gauges are full and the ground is saturated, just curious, do we anticipate any kind of time frame on being able to get all those that we need so we can start some of that work?
In terms of time frame on finishing up the easements, I think that to some degree I'm at the mercy of the compliance of the folks who need to sign easements. But in terms of moving forward on the project, I have begun today to work with the company that we consult with, Wilson & Co., to get a few of the outstanding items addressed, which include an addendum to the easement, grandfather, and a few items which I think will satisfy some of the concerns, but also to begin procuring, sending out an RFP for this work to be done. I think the reality is that we're close enough that we could probably do 90 to 95% of the work without the existing easements, and so we're going to get moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay, other comments? Seeing no comments, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion is to adjourn. Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are adjourned. We will see you next time.